Hello and welcome back to the Opener Sorcery. It's Devi, and today we continue our story of the Minor Arcana. So here we are looking at the wands, Ace through 10. So this one I am going to say is Call to Adventure. This is something completely within the self-identified. And as you see it going through, it does what fire does. There is a way to harness fire and have it be productive, and then there is a way for it to start to do damage over time. So, Call to Adventure. That is where we start. So the ace. You see a solution to a problem. You have everything that you need. You see a productive flicker, an inner fire of life in you. You are the answer to the solution. You have it. It springs to life within you. The hero, the call to adventure. So there's a dragon, right? And I'm going to use this dragon analogy throughout. There's a dragon, and you want to fight the dragon. You want to learn how to fight the dragon. You just have this inner knowing, this inner fire that I am going to be the one to defeat this dragon. I am going to be the one to solve this problem. This is me. Now, sounds incredibly egoic, but very much like Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of the fantasy type things that we consume nowadays, it very much falls into we have motivation behind it. We can solve this problem. We can fix this. Leads us into 2. You're making your plans and figuring out just how you're going to make it in this world. How you will train. What you will need. Making contingency plans. And ultimately, leaving home to begin the grand adventure. So, you need supplies. You got to figure out, okay, where am I going to go? What school am I going to go to? Who am I going to train under? Instead of it just being an idea and letting it sit as the idea and being a flicker and then going out in smoke, it's starting to build momentum. It's starting to actually gain some ground here. You're actually seeing, okay, how can this plan work? How can we figure this out? It's a wonderful thing. You've actually started to get everything in motion. Always starts in motion small. Because it has to start with a thought. It has to start with inspiration. And then be built in other areas. So 3, you are expanding like wildfire. The new skills you have gained are allowing you to see farther ahead into what is needed next. Because sometimes you can't see exactly what is on the other side of the horizon until you get there. So you actually set out and you go to that horizon and you're like, all right, so I've gained this far. What else do I need? What else do I have to plan for? What other skills am I going to need? What other people am I going to need? You're building momentum. You're just building the speed behind you. And you're building experience. So think of it as your first job, right? You're nervous, but you're excited. You want to get that first paycheck. You don't know what you don't know until you figure out that you need to know how to do this. And then you gain the experience and it's on to the next thing. One thing always leading into the next. One match always being lit before it lights another. 4, this is the return home. Gaining strength from those that love you. Recentering a why of sorts. This is kind of you see, the 4 is always centered on celebration. You gained something, right? You had a small victory and your parents are proud of you. If we think of it in terms of like kids, parents praising them for getting an A. You exceeded in this. You gained the skill and you've got people behind you that are hyping you up, that are cheering for you. but this is your home that is cheering for you. It's a small crowd now, right? You've got a small amount of people that are cheering for you, but those are the ones that you came from. Those are your roots. That's your initial spark, that's your initial fervor. It recenters your why. You enjoy the celebrations and cherish the memories. It really serves to strengthen any kind of resolve. These people are proud of me. I need to continue. It's not I'm going to sit back and just enjoy and just be here and only here. It is, this serves to allow me to expand further because I have support underneath me. Now, number 5. This is where the first actual adversary is. Figuring out how to work together. This is a grouping. So think of it, I'm going to go back to the D&D, right? Because our ultimate goal is to fight that dragon. But back to D&D, we've got our skills. We graduated maybe like the training school. Now we got to go out on actual adventures. But in order to do that, we need to work with other people. But here, there's not a definitive leader. And everyone has their own ego that they are arguing with because everybody believes themselves to be the hero. This is where the first actual adversary is. It's figuring out how to work together. When there is something else to fight, seeing past egos is easier. And leaders and figuring out how to get an entire group of people on the same page. It's difficult. Because somebody's going to see one problem and then there's going to be 5 different solutions in each of the different people. But until you put down the swords and actually start seeing from other perspectives, you're not going to gain ground. But it's your way or the highway on this one. And so this is a battle of egos. Now, instead of seeing these groups as allies, these other people as allies, you're seeing them as competition. You want to be the one to defeat the dragon. That's on you. You are the destined hero, right? Now, number 6, victory. So this is more victory on a more public scale. You've gained ground. You've done the work. You haven't necessarily beat the dragon yet, but you have a lot of victories under your belt to where townspeople, people that didn't raise you, are here throwing a parade. They are excited. You are getting praise upon praise upon praise. Now, there are many victories to where you wear the hero badge proudly. There are those that look up to you, that aspire to be like you. You have won a title on your way to the ultimate goal. But this is just a title. There's still more work to be done. Number 7. Just because you had that parade and you were being praised and people are seeing you and looking up to you and seeing your shining light, seeing how fast your fire spreads, there are those that doubt you. They're still coming at you. And you have to defend yourself. Just because you got the praise doesn't mean you get to sit on your laurels now. You have to keep going. You have to keep building. You have to keep building skills. You have to keep getting experience. You have to keep growing in mind and body and tactics and strategy and all of these things. And you have to prove to these people that you are who you say you are, because they're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe you. You have the graduations and the battles behind you, but these people don't believe your stories. And so you're going to have people that are bad-mouthing you. Those that think that you're a liar. That just because you say that you've done these things doesn't mean you actually have the skills. They could be competitors. They could be everyday people. Those are armchair heroes, right? armchair magicians, armchair heroes, the ones that study it. Well, I've studied these things, and that's not how that monster reacts when it dies. That's not how that happens. And you have to prove yourself to them over and over again. Now, 8. This is a quickening stage. Those that doubted you have quieted, and there is a surging roar of, I believe in you. You already have that inner belief in yourself here, so this quickening, this speed up, this rapid expansion launches you further than you ever have gone. You are fighting things and completing tasks that you never thought possible. And you actually feel like everything is actually in reach right in front of you. Now to number 9. You don't get to fight the dragon and gain enough experience without there being setbacks. You don't get to that place in the world, get to that amount of renown without losing stuff in the process. You might have scars. You may have lost limbs. You may have lost teammates. You have done so much, accomplished so much. You are resilient. Absolutely resilient. And regardless of the injuries upon yourself, you continue forward. You continue your march to fight that dragon. You continue your march forward to get to your goal. To get strong enough. To be brave enough. It takes as much grit as you can muster. And it's hard. Because fire burns. Regardless of where it is. Chimneys. Fireplaces. Hell, even grills and fire pits out in a backyard. After enough fire is in them, you start to see a breakdown. There's a lot that happens when there's too much fire and too much heat. But you're taking that stand. And you're persevering here, regardless of the damage that it does to you, both physically and mentally. And then we get to 10. You fought the dragon. And you won. You have your accomplishment. Your responsibility. And now it is your burden. Because people see that you could fight the dragon, that you could win, that you could beat any foe that you have come against. But now it is assumed, and that inner fire within you takes on that role of being the hero, continuing to be the hero, continuing to take that burden from the people that couldn't. So no matter what foe it is, it's going to be yours to fight. They're going to look to you. Sure, you may get the parades and the parties, but you're also going to have to put yourself in harm's way. And eventually, at some point, there is going to be a breakdown. But the 10 is all about the accomplishment. Getting to your goals, actually achieving your goal. And then the realization afterwards of, I did it. But there's always going to be a bigger bad. There's always going to be another hill to climb. There's always going to be another cliff, another mountain, and it's even taller than the last. Layer upon layer upon layer of having to fight something and being expected to do so. So like I said, the wands is a call to adventure. All of this fire within you. And it's a really twisted story in that it's innocent in the beginning, but it understands towards the end that this is a never-ending cycle, that it is always going to be the burden of the hero to save everyone, to fix the problems, to make things better. There is no rest. There is no relaxation. You either have to continue to prove yourself over and over and over again, or die. Now, that's a very dramatic way to say it, but if we think about it in terms of modern day, in terms of business, think of it as the companies that are saying that they have to make profit hand over fist, increasing profits every single year. It's not feasible. It's not possible. Constant growth is not a thing. It reaches a point where it cannot grow any longer and it will fail. So take the story of wands and recognize that sometimes persistence and grit and a willingness to never stop is not a virtue. It's a vice. So, this is Devi with the Open Resourcery, and you guys have a wonderful night. Have a good one.